everybody. I'm Steve. We're here with a very fascinating series type of thing about what would you take if you could only take 5 supplements, what would they be? And as you know from I went up first, that's torturing me. I can't only take 5 supplements. So we're going to be asking some of our leaders and trainers and people in the industry who know a lot about this stuff and getting their opinion. Again, we're not doctors, but this is fascinating to me. And just kind of talking to DJ, that's DJ, everyone, off camera is going like, I don't even know what that is. Some of the stuff he would take. So DJ, give us a little background on who you are and what you've accomplished, why this is your passion. Tell us your story real quickly.
All right, so I'll make this as quick as possible because this was quite a journey for me to get to where I am. But when I started out as a teenager, a young teenager, I actually got into the martial arts. By the time I was 16, I was teaching 6 separate martial arts in my local martial arts studio. 17, I joined the military, and into my 20s, all through my teens into my 20s, my job was being ready, right? Staying at a constant state of physical readiness. When I got out, and I was kind of lost, you know, after the military, I had a mission, my mission was over. Now we get a career, right? I got into construction, rose pretty quick to a foreman. So my activity level went down being a foreman. Working 16, 20 hours a day with only Roach Coach trucks and Wendy's and Taco Bell and being on the road. Fast forward 10 years, I found myself to be 300 pounds. And it wasn't a flattering 300 pounds, definitely not. So I decided, when I realized that, I decided that that was it. I got to do something. So I went back to working out the way I knew when I was a teenager in my 20s in the military, and that was working pretty well. But I also tried every fad diet on the internet. Eventually I did. Within about a year, I lost over 100 pounds. I was back down sub 200, about 175. And then I had to have my gallbladder removed. So the diets that I was doing wasn't doing my body well. About at that time, I was going back to college, and I switched. I actually double majored in exercise science. I thought, well, I'll just figure this out for myself. I want to know what's healthy for me. A month after that, my son was diagnosed with brain cancer. So I was double majoring deaf education because I was going to help kids, and exercise science for myself. After his first surgery, we had to drop everything, and just he and I, we left everybody and everything behind and moved to Memphis to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. The deaf education program told me, okay, well, you could reapply when you come back, but the exercise science program put cameras in all the classrooms for me. So I was able to continue that. I was actually going to go back to that until one day, my son, who's 5 years old, we were in our little 2-bedroom apartment there, and he came out with his feeding tube on his little pole and his IV, and he was paralyzed after his first surgery, but we went through a lot of physical therapy by this point. He was walking kind of okay as long as he was leaning. But he came out, he got down on the ground in the living room while I was doing my homework, and he started doing glute bridges. He said, Daddy, look, I'm exercising. And I told him, it's been a long day, dude. We've been in the hospital for 10 hours, and now we're home. You could rest. It's okay. And he said, no, Daddy, you work really hard so you can play with me. Now I got to work really hard so I can play with you again. And that was it. That's when my whole life changed. I said, I want to give people that feeling. When I look at myself, I don't think that, oh, I'm going to be the hero of my own story. I'm going to be the Hercules. If you ever watched that cartoon Hercules, the little field guy, that coach in the background, that's what I want to be. I want to be Phil, helping Hercules fulfill his potential so that he can inspire other people.
Wow, great story. So the whole point of why I asked you that is like you and many other people that, you know, are on the Fitness for 10 team and some of the other facilities that we're in, these are well thought out for you to say, okay, these are the top 5 supplements that I would take. because like I said, on mine and on this, that tortures me. I only 5?
Oh, yeah.
I can't do that. So,
You
but I
know,
did. So it's maybe just as torturous for you, but let's start with number 1. If you're going to take, what's the first supplement that you're going to take if you could only take, 5? What's the first one?
so being of my skin tone and living where we live here in Nevada, where we're a little bit less sunshine, vitamin D would be on the top of my list.
Wow, that was number 1 for me too. So
Definitely.
interesting. I guess people, we'll see what some of the other trainers and people say, but what's number 2?
Number two would be a good multivitamin. The reason for that being is if I can't front load any other vitamin, at least I'm getting something of a broad spectrum, at least a little bit of what I need of kind of everything.
Yeah, and when I look for a vitamin or something like that, I didn't say it in mine, but I always look for a capsule form, not a tablet form. But that's, I couldn't figure out where to put that on mine, but it's something that I take. It's just not on my top 5. So number 2 for you is a good multivitamin.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're just not getting it from the food that we eat anymore. It's not in the ground because of our farming practices. And if it's not in the ground, it's not in the plant.
What's number 3?
Number three, a BCAA. So branch chain amino acids. Amino acids are essential. When we're working out, we're depleting our muscle glycogen and then our blood glycogen. The brain starts fighting for food. Once it does that, our body goes catabolic. If we have the branch chain amino acids, which is what it's looking for when it breaks down that muscle, then the brain thinks it's already taking care of it. It's there, it's available for the brain. It doesn't have to fight for food.
Wow. I mean, that's a good example there. I take essential amino acids 3 times a day. More than most, but it's not in my top 5. I had to put something in the top 5. So there you go, an important one. So
So especially after 40, if we're not building or maintaining after 40, then we're losing it. And if we're not taking care of it and making sure we're not going catabolic, then we might as well just be losing it.
yeah, people can go look up. I did one on why I use amino acids. So another good choice. I mean, your top 5 are not going to be bad choices, that's for sure. So what's number 4?
Number four, a good protein isolate. Okay, it's really hard. Protein is one of the more filling things that we're going to eat. It's one of the heavier things. If anybody who's ever trained knows, they get tired of chewing chicken. Okay, and when it's not convenient and when it starts getting hard, we are human beings are just like electricity. It looks for the path of least resistance. Okay, so we're going to fall off. So making sure that we get enough protein by having a good protein isolate, whether it be vegan or whey or casein, whatever your preference is going to be essential to keeping and building that muscle.
Another thing I take every day, but couldn't squeeze it into what I felt was the top 5 most important to me. So we've got 4. You've got vitamin D, which is also my number 1.
Bone health.
Multiple vitamin,
Mhm.
then amino acids,
Absolutely, branch chain. Yeah.
and then and you're choosing something a little different. Branch chain amino acids, which are
Right.
3 amino acids: leucine, isoleucine, and valine.
Right.
Leucine 2-to-1 over isoleucine and valine. And I choose an essential amino acid formula, which has more. So
Right.
that's interesting. And then you said a good protein isolate, which I take multiple different types of protein isolates every day.
Right.
All you listening to this, we're health nuts. So
Right.
anyway,
And I say isolate, so I want to clarify. I say isolate instead of concentrate. Okay, because concentrate is going to have a lot more fillers. It's going to have more carbohydrates, and we get enough carbohydrates, right?
yes,
We get
we do.
enough of that. Those are the easy things to get. It's in our vegetables. It's in our starches. It's all over the place. But the protein, is a little bit harder. So getting that isolate where it's not doesn't have as many fillers, doesn't have as many carbohydrates, is going to do you better in that protein realm.
Okay, so drum roll, number 5. This, you only get 5, so what's that 5th one that you're gonna take, DJ?
Number 5. Okay, so number 5 for me is NOx, or nitrous oxide. Okay, and the reason for that is our environment. We are unfortunately a product of our environment. Okay, we have a lot of contaminants in the air and normally, but then you add in, if you're around smokers, if you used to be a smoker yourself, okay, these things are gonna constrict your blood vessels. They're all constrictors. The nitric oxide is something that we produce naturally in our veins and in our arteries to help open them up and help that blood flow, good heart health. So if we're in an environment where, which most of us are, I mean, let's be honest, we don't live up in the mountains all by ourselves, isolated in a cabin like the Unabomber. Okay, we're going to be in an environment where we're getting those kind of toxins, and they're all vascular constrictors. So to open those up, make sure those nutrients are actually getting fed to our bodies and fed to our cells. NOx is going to be a good supplement to put in.
Yeah, and I'm curious, I use beet powder and arginine for that purpose, but what form do you take that in? Explain to our viewers, what is that? How are you taking that?
So I found it in both powder and in pill form. Although I hate taking pills, I do have that one in more of a capsule form. And the reason being is with the powders, anytime you have the powders, you are going to have some fillers. So your doses are going to vary when you scoop it out because it might not be mixed as well. It's not consistent, but in the capsule or the pill form, it's going to be more consistent.
Okay, so all these 5 that DJ's mentioned, I encourage you all to go do your own research. Again, we're not telling you how much we take, but we're just giving you our opinion on what's 5 priorities for us. I encourage all of you to go research these 5 supplements that DJ's talking about. Now, DJ, we're going to give you 5 bonus picks. Okay.
5?
So we'll not 5, 3. You only get 5. You get 3, and we'll call these runner-ups or whatever you want, but you get 3 of them that are not on your top 5. But how about 3 honorable mentions? What's the first one?
All right, first honorable mention will be a good collagen powder. Okay, so good collagen powder usually has multiple forms of collagen in it. The reason that I say that is because if we are working out, we are trying to get stronger, we're trying to get healthier, our muscles are going to get stronger. We feed the protein to our muscles because that's what builds our muscles. Well, our ligaments and our tendons are made of collagen. So we need to make sure that those structures are getting strong as well. I know that most collagen powders are advertising for nail and skin and hair, and that's a good bonus. But on the inside, it's doing other work. And if we're going to want to continue to get stronger, we have to make our whole body stronger.
Okay, so what's number 2 honorable mention?
Number 2 honorable mention, turmeric. So I know a lot of people consider that more of an herb, but turmeric is a great anti-inflammatory. It has great anti-inflammatory properties. It doesn't taste bad. It bakes into a lot of things. And the reason is because in the average American diet, we got a lot of inflammatory foods, right? Red meat's inflammatory. We have a lot of omega-6s in our American diet. When we don't balance that out as well with omega-3s, omega-6s are inflammatory, omega-3s are anti-inflammatory. So we don't balance those out in the average American diet very well. So adding some turmeric in there and some other anti-inflammatories are going to help you feel better, move better, and just be better.
Okay, so you have one more. What's that third one?
So the one more isn't going to be so much a addition to supplements that I would take. it would actually be a reduction in supplements. So calcium, I would actually not, me personally, would not follow the daily allotted recommended from the FDA and the USDA, simply because there's so much evidence that calcium is not that important to the bone health, as important as the FDA wants to say. The World Health Organization has a recommendation way below that. If we look at the instance of osteoporosis, which is why they say we have to take so much calcium, we actually lead the world. Most countries that recommend high doses of calcium a day actually have a higher incidence of osteoporosis. But if we look at some of the other parts of the world, say just take Ethiopia. Ethiopia is not getting a whole heck of a lot of calcium, right? But they have the lowest amount of osteoporosis and the strongest, densest bones. Part of that is because their daily life has so much resistance in it, right? They're working hard all day, every day in this third world country just to survive. But the studies and the cumulative studies have shown that vitamin D, which is in those countries, they have a lot of vitamin D. They produce it from the sun. So they have a much higher elevated rate of vitamin D in their bodies, is more correlated to the bone health and the denser bone structures than calcium is, which is why it came #1 on mine.
Very well thought out. So everyone listening, that's DJ. If you want to talk to him, you want to meet him, he is in Carson City at the Fitness for 10 in Carson City, Nevada. And he's one of our lead trainers there, or the lead trainer. What's your position?
I'm actually the training director.
So he's the training director. He runs the training department. And if you want to meet him, go down there, tell him you want to talk to DJ. I mean, he's busy. He's got lots of clients that he's putting through training every day. But that's DJ at Carson City, Nevada. Fitness for 10. Thanks, DJ.
Thanks, Steve. And we'll talk to you soon.